Dallas Frasca, welcome to Australian Musician.
Thanks for having me.
Tell me about growing up at home. Was there much music in the house?
There was lots of music growing up. My parents loved Midnight Oil, Baby Animals. We had a lot of John Farnham in the house, James Rain. Yeah, lots of rock, I would say, in the house. And I definitely think my dad's enthusiasm for music rubbed off on me.
Yeah. What did they have in their collection?
So all of the ones mentioned, but the radio was always on. So in the mornings when we hopped up, car trips, the stereo was always turned up pretty loud. So a variation of lots of different music.
And then when you started to get your own musical tastes, what were the albums that got you through the teens?
Through the teens, so Soundgarden, Nirvana, Faith No More, Tool. Yeah, a lot of sort of heavier bands I've always been pretty interested in or drawn to. Yeah.
And when did you realise that you wanted to be a performer?
I think there was a moment, definitely for me. I know that a lot of artists talk about that, but I saw the film Crossroads when I was maybe 13, not the Britney Spears one, just for the record. And that film, I mean, I was just so struck by the music within that film, and that soundtrack, Rycooters, is definitely a go-to. That comes back in my life regularly. And that guitar duel at the end of that film, I could probably hum most of that now. And a few years back, I actually did get to play with Steve Vai at a festival here in Australia and tell him that, you know, seeing him play guitar set me on my pathway to that music chose me, I guess, in that moment. And so I had put this photo up online with myself and Steve Vai, and a fan grabbed that photo and put it on a coffee mug, and I drink my coffee out of my Steve Vai and me mug every day.
What about vocal inspirations? Which voices inspired you?
Yeah, like a lot of soul. Aretha Franklin, I guess Janis Joplin was, I think, the first voice that I heard that gave me permission to be myself, or to even have the courage to be different, because I don't think my vocals sort of sit in a mainstream sort of category by any means. I think it's loud and aggressive and all of those things, and also quite soulful and heartfelt at the same time, which I really identified with Janis as one of those singers. But I'm all about the big singers. Yeah.
You've got a new album, Force of Nature. Mm-hmm. What do you know about recording now that you didn't the first time you went into a studio?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I think for me, it's the preparation going in. I've wasted a lot of money from making mistakes by not being prepared enough before I get into the studio. So I think for myself personally now, there's a lot of work that happens in that pre-production phase, that I haven't done in the past. So getting the demos done, talking to people about them, being quite vulnerable in that space. I've always held on and been a little bit too precious, I think, which hasn't allowed the songs to grow to their full potential. So the pre-production for me is definitely something, you know, and also getting together my sonic references and having a really strong vision for what I want to do, so that everybody I'm working with can help, you know, make that vision bigger with the right team.
So with Force of Nature, over what period of time was that created, and what was the thought process in regard to the kind of album you wanted to make?
Yeah, so I think it's sort of a 4-year period. So I think within that period as well, you know, it was the tail end of COVID, and I think I made the decision that I really wanted to discover who I was with an artist without other writers around me. So it was sort of like, I'm walking in this solo solo journey at the moment. So for me, the album turned out quite eclectic, and I think it's a great representation of me. I could have made an album that is really bluesy and more in the rock vein, but that's not who I am. I am multidimensional, as like all of us are as humans, and I think Andy and I made the decision early on that we wanted to treat each song on that record like its own universe. And the things that tie everything together on the record is, I did a lot of the writing in nature. I went on some, tripped out hikes by myself, big ones in nature by myself, and, recorded a lot of sounds from nature. So a lot of that ties all of the record together. So, the vocals, the gospel choir ties everything together, but they're all their own little individual universe, the songs.
Tell me about Andy Baldwin, the producer, and what did he bring to the project?
I love it. I love Andy. I was actually talking to him last night. Andy is probably everybody's favourite person. He's a magical, beautiful man that creates magical spaces. When you walk into Andy's world, he creates something. There's something happening, they're like lifelong memories. This is the third album I've done with Andy. I recorded one with him in New York many years ago, and then he produced another one in Australia from Zoom. He produced over, and then this one. So he flew out from LA at the end of the year. But Andy, he's done a lot of records, and I've also read interviews where people say the same thing about him. He's a magical, beautiful, very, very talented person, and I feel so grateful to have him in my life.
Was the track order important to you, and why did you begin with the song Pray?
Yeah, it is. I think for me, that comes out of the gates pretty hard. It's just like this stomp. It's sort of like this knock on the door. And even the lyrics within that, people will have to listen to the lyrics rather than me dissecting it for you. But that was sort of me coming back after not putting an album out for about 8 years. And it's fearless and quite aggressive. And it was like, get ready. Yeah.
The track River Queen is a huge song. Whose idea was it to put strings on that?
That was Andy's, of course. He's an incredible violin player and also like an arranger. I think a really good song will hold up just with an acoustic guitar and vocal, but then you get someone like Andy that puts string arrangements on it like this that just enhances. So that was Andy's, that wasn't mine, that one.
The album ends with May the Bridges We've Burned Light the Way, which features some really nice finger picking. Is that you playing the...
It sure is, yeah.
Where did you learn to finger pick?
I had a guitar teacher really early on in Wangaratta. I'm from Northeast Victoria, regional kid. And there was I can't remember his last name, Ken. He was a finger picker. And so that was really the first thing I sort of learnt when I was younger. So, and I haven't done a lot of that in any of my records really. So I suppose it's a strength that hasn't been shown. I love finger picking, and there's lots to explore with that. But that actual song was recorded. I played it on the Mini Maton, and I had this really weird kind of tuning. And then when I wanted to do, there's a solo section in that song. There's this. Maybe I can show you later with this tuning, but I had to put this string. It's the most ugliest sounding tuning you've ever heard in your life, but it works for this song particularly. I'll show you later.
Yeah. When you were recording these songs, were you thinking about how you might replicate them live, or is that something you think about afterwards?
Yes, so it's a multi-layered answer, I think. So I am always thinking about live. I'm thinking about the connection to the audience, and because that's something that's very meaningful and purposeful for me as a musician. I want to connect with people, and I want to feel connected when I'm watching artists. That said, I also, it was difficult to figure out how to record these songs when I demoed a lot of it in this space, and I needed percussion and those kind of things. So it has been a journey this year, and I've and that's grown as all of the shows that I played last year, I started figuring out, and then I detached myself from the record to explore, you know, what I really wanted to do, a reimagination of some of them. So in the live space, when I'm playing solo, I have actually got some samples from the record. So I recorded a gospel choir in a warehouse and then re-amped it in this big water tank at my friend Josh Barber's studio, who also did all the percussion. And so I've got some of those samples in, which are really fun to play with. And then if I'm playing it in a more of a band format, it will be me with my loops that I'm building the guitar sounds, a drummer, and then two of the singers that were a part of the choir as well. So you can kind of do anything with, I mean, I feel like, you know, this has really helped me grow, and the album's helped me grow as a musician, to build my foundations a lot stronger as a musician, to be able to go, the foundation's strong, now what can we do? I can do lots of different things with this album. I mean, maybe let's bring in an orchestra.
We saw you support Orianthi on the weekend, and it was such a great live sound. What have you done to achieve that that's different to the way you have been performing?
I mean, I can't give all my secrets away. I'm a sonics person, so I love, you know, thinking about how I can sound bigger as an artist, and you know how this can translate for me like onto bigger stages. Like, can I fill those? Can I go after a rock band? And I think that from what I've sort of built in this space, the looping, that I have covered a lot of that sonic spectrum as a player. There's no denying you can hear big octave pedals that are, you know, with my guitar sounds as well. But this little guy is one of my secret weapons, the Les Paul. I think that fat sound sort of like, you know, fills a lot of space, but I love it. And I also play lots of different guitars. So I think, you know, I've tried to put in some dynamics into the set, and colour and flavour, those kind of things.
You've got an extensive tour through February. I assume they're solo gigs as well?
No, never assume.
Okay.
No, I'm playing, those will be with Josh Barber. So Josh plays lots of bizarre kind of percussion and chains, and he's built this like little piece of wood with corrugated iron and this big heavy chain off it, and he plays a harmonium and sings, and he's amazing. So the two of us will be doing that tour through Feb.
Another thing you're doing is supporting ZZ Top and George Thorogood. Are you a fan?
Like ridiculous. You can tell by my face. When I found out, I literally nearly passed out. It's, you know, you dream of things like this happening as a musician, and I feel like I'm really ready for this tour, and I can't wait. And in fact, after I played the show with Orianthi, we were talking about this before, Orianthi texted Billy Gibbons to tell him to come down early to see my show. So hopefully I'll see you there, Billy.
You're also a featured artist at the Melbourne Guitar Show. You played the Melbourne Guitar Show before when it was at Caulfield Racecourse. What are your memories of that time?
Walking through and there being like 3,000 guitars playing at once. Look, I love those events because it's your guitar nerd community like connecting and getting excited together, and often you can be, you know, in your own space. It can be quite isolated experiences, nerding out as you will. But I love connecting with people and learning things. Like you might hear something that you're like, might be still in that one for my next set. So yeah, I love connecting with my community there.
Yeah. Have you thought about your performance at the guitar show? What you'll be doing?
A little bit, yeah. It's a little way off, but yeah, I definitely am. You can see me go into creative mode with that. I've got a bunch of things that I want to put into the set that I haven't, and Josh and I will be having a couple of big rehearsals before this whole tour kicks off, and the big finale will be at the Melbourne Guitar Show.
You've got a fine collection of guitars here. Let's talk about some. Which one do you want to show us first?
Well, I would love to show you my Les Paul, my custom Les Paul. I bought this when I was 18, when there was a music shop in Albury that had a 50% off sale, and I was like, I'm going. So this I bought, and has, this has seen some days. So it's actually had the neck snapped twice, and repaired by Klingen Guitars. Thanks, Klingen. But yeah, when it snapped the second time, I was like, I feel like I had such a shame job around it that I ended up putting it back in its case. And this was painted by my friend Steve May. He painted a picture for me for the Archibald Prize, and he also painted my guitar, which was really cool. Anyway, only last week before the Orianthi show, I was like, I think we're ready to talk again. And so I opened the show with this at the Orianthi gig, and I just forgot how awesome it was. So this is going to be seen on stage a little bit more, I think. This is another guitar I've had for 25 years. You can see it's lived a life. I've probably played maybe 1,000 shows with this guitar. It's had things. It's had a hi-hat stand go through it. I used to play a lot of slide guitar, and you can see I'm pretty heavy-handed with my guitars, and that's the pick kind of tapping sort of stuff. And my friend Rick Stewart, he put another pickup, which I stole also out of this, my tricone there. But yeah, so it's definitely a hack job, but it's got its own sound. And this is one of these guitars that it just gets better with age. Like, it just sounds, when I pick it up, it's like, it feels like home, this guitar. And then recently I was at a festival in Far North Queensland, and I had a Firebird at the time, and the lock nuts on the top of the guitar ended up breaking just before I was about to go on stage. And someone said, here you go, play this SG. And so I picked up this SG and I was like, okay. Like, normally you don't connect, I don't, like, I'm pretty fussy. And so I played this SG and then flew back the next day and bought an SG for myself. So this has been with me for maybe about 18 months, I think. It's a second-hand one. And then my new favourite is my beautiful Cole Clark, which I'm obsessed with. And I feel like I haven't even really, I have not even explored what's possible with this guitar yet. Because again, this is done not a hack job. I think the possibilities for what I want to do as an artist is going to be, endless. I'm really excited about getting into this one. So I'm obsessed. I had this one at the show the other night. There's lots more, but, you know. Oh, maybe I can show you actually the Maton with the dud tuning. So this, we'll see if it's in tune. That's the tuning. And I figured that that if I put that string in that tuning, then I can hit that note without having to reach too far, because I don't use that with the finger picking anyway. And then it's so you can do it. You can cheat your way to reaching those notes as well. But I love this little mini Maton. I only use it for one song. It does the job.
Playing solo, what have you learned about stagecraft over the years?
The biggest thing for me is learning to trust yourself and back yourself, because I've gotten into, these waves of, there can be a lot of pressure hopping up on stage, and particularly when you're being the front person in that space. And I've gone through waves of finding my confidence and then sometimes losing my confidence with that as an artist. And I think potentially a lot of people go through that. I spent a really good stint touring Europe, and I think one of the things that I found out after that is because the audiences are so different, I had an expectation on the audience to be a certain way, I think, in my mind, which created anxiety. And so I've turned that whole thing and reframed that, where I just go out and give people my love, which is really easy. And I think the biggest thing for me about stagecraft is connection to people, because you're a storyteller. Connection and always backing yourself, because things are always going to go wrong on stage.
When you think back on your career, what are the strongest memories?
There's been a lot of beautiful moments, like things like someone dancing for the first time in their life to our music, or hearing years later that's, you know, a young girl picked up the guitar because of you, and being quite successful. I mean, I know what music has brought to my life, and then, you know, I think you don't imagine that you can do that for other people as well. But, you know, and then you've got the crazy ones like, you know, playing in front of 40,000 people in France, and all of those kind of like pretty surreal moments. But yeah, I think that answers it.
Yeah. What are you most proud of in your music career?
That's a really great question. I think for me, it's just that I've kept going even in moments of doubt. I think that's the big thing, you know, like I said before, just backing yourself, because it can be hard getting up there, and there can be a stigma around age within the industry, but in fact, how good can you get? You know what I mean? If you keep going at it, and there is no age on what you do, and when you're ready to stop making music, then that's when you kind of stop. So I'm pretty inspired at the moment, so I've got a bit left in the tank yet.
Well, Dallas Frasca, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.